welcome back to episode 6 of Alex's Disorganized Thoughts. Once again, I am your host, of course, Alex Naranjo, and welcome to a new adventure for the week. Once again, as always, thank you for listening, watching, however you've been consuming the pod. Any feedback you've given to me, I've appreciated, taken it to heart. So I can't thank everybody enough who has listened and gotten back to me and rated, reviewed, subscribed, all that fun stuff, guys. Please continue to do so. Tell your friends, the more the merrier. Again, I can't appreciate it anymore. Once again, thank you for that. And getting underway, you see behind me today's jersey is a little bit of a hockey jersey today. It is a 21-22 authentic Tampa Bay Lightning home sweater. I got it when we went up to Chicago because we happened to go see one of their games. And living in Tampa, just kind of they're pretty easy to follow here. Like I've talked in the past, Tampa's a hockey town. It feels like a lot, just because of their continued success. So I did get the jersey. I got a good deal on it, thankfully, and so I got it. Wear it every now and again for the Lightning, especially not now in the summer. But there'll be more as to why I have the Lightning jersey in a little bit. But I have to begin today's podcast, unfortunately, a little bit of a sad note. And that's with the passings of Bill Russell and Vince Scully over the last few days. Starting with Mr. Bill Russell. Honestly, and just talking basketball at first here, he's arguably the best winner of all time. 11 titles as a member of the Boston Celtics, on the All-50 team, on the All-75 team, obviously. First African-American coach in NBA history. He truly was a patriarch of the NBA and what we know the NBA to be now. You can just see just in the way the respect that Bill Russell got, and not just now when he was a little bit older. Which by the way, he was hilarious. I mean, there's videos out there of him giving the bird to Barkley and telling like Alonzo Mourning, David Robinson, and a whole bunch of other guys that he'll kick their ass. So you always saw that respect, but that respect I feel like was Bill Russell always had that respect, even from the younger generation and the generation before and before. Like Bill Russell really is one of those guys who you can't begin, I believe, a true Mount Rushmore of the NBA without Bill Russell. And it's not to say he's one of the best 4 players of all time, but between his play and everything he meant for the league, he absolutely is on there as just one of the Mount Rushmore as far as just overall meaning to the NBA. And that doesn't go into probably the more important part of his life. He was a huge civil rights activist. Marched with Martin Luther King. When Martin Luther King gave the I Have a Dream speech, he actually marched with him and was there with him. Stood up for Ali when he was going through everything and not being allowed to fight. And he was awarded actually the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Obama in February of 2011. I know there's a lot of videos of him with Jim Brown. He spoke a lot. For those who don't know the history of Boston, Boston unfortunately has a history of being a very racist city. And maybe it's not as bad now as it was back then. But just to give a little concept, even though it's another sport, the Red Sox were the last team to integrate. There's a reason for that. So Boston's never been the most friendly city. I think one of his quotes was he felt like he lived in Alcatraz, even though he was free in Boston, because there were times his house got robbed and like he would go on road trips and he would come back, his house was broken into. And this is Bill Russell. Like everybody knows who he is, and it didn't matter. But he took it all with grace. He had an incredible humility to him. Even though, yeah, like I said earlier, he had those moments, but like one of the most things that kind of struck me when a lot of people were talking about him and a lot of people did speak about him was Jerry West. So Jerry West, or the logo of the NBA, famously lost to Bill Russell, I want to say 7 or 8 times in the NBA finals. Like, yeah, he's like we said, Bill Russell's the best winner ever, but there has to be a loser. if someone won, right? And unfortunately, it was Jerry West, who's also one of the all-time greats. And Bill Russell knows the pain that Jerry was going through, and he said he didn't really know it, but he's like, I just want you to be happy, because he understood that if he won, that means someone had to lose. And you could hear it in Jerry West's voice. He did an interview with Dan Patrick, how much that meant to him. And it's something that he says he's never ever forgotten, because he wanted me to be happy, is what Jerry West said, and it's so, like, he even remembers all those losses, it's heartbreaking. But that just goes to speak to the character and the type of person that Mr. Bill Russell was. So may he first rest in peace. As I mentioned, also, this one's a little bit closer to me. I feel a little bit more like Bill Russell was. It was a very sad, made me sad. Don't get me wrong. But this one makes me, I guess, sadder, I guess is the way to put this, unfortunately. And it's not ranking them. Vince Scully passed away late Tuesday evening, early Wednesday at the age of 94. He's the voice of baseball as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's someone who even that I know, I mean, my entire life I've known that he was the Dodger voice, and he was the guy who's always called the games. I mean, he called games for 65 years. He called games from 1950 to 2016. He moved with the team from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. Like, if you're a big baseball fan, you obviously know the history there. La Esposa wasn't. So when I tried to talk to her a little bit about Vince Scully today, she's like, what do you mean that we're in Brooklyn? I'm like, yeah, you never heard of the Brooklyn? She's like, yeah, okay, it's the same team. They moved in the 50s. And like, I had explained to her a little bit of history there and the Giants. And it was, so she learned a little bit, obviously annoyed because I knew all these things, because I'm a vast, useless of information. I just can spew it at nauseum, and it annoys her greatly. But I like that. It's fun. So gave us a little bit of history, but he was there the whole time. I mean, he called games, including Jackie Robinson to Yasiel Puig, from Sandy Koufax to Clayton Kershaw. Like, he called all the greats in Dodger history, plus anybody who played against the Dodgers. Famously, he got ironically enough, the Braves, when Hank Aaron broke his world home run record of Babe Ruth, it was against the Dodgers. So guess who called the game? And it's remarkable because he called 125 games, 162 games a year. He called all the games, sometimes for radio, sometimes for TV, depending on what they needed him for. Nowadays, like, most of these broadcast teams are like 5-6 players deep, and or people deep, and they take breaks and stuff like that. So he did it every day for 65 years, including World Series, including spring training for the Dodgers. He did it all. He did it all for them. I mean, the guy was able to call 3 perfect games, including Don Larson's in the World Series. Like, his history in the game of baseball, just from all intents and purposes, one of the nicest guys. Every story I've read about Sandy Koufax, about Vince Scully, it's just like, what a decent and just good human he was. And I mean, at the end of the day, I wish I could only be known as a good human. At the end, like, just he was a good person, He also, people forget this, or they're not really aware. I wasn't fully aware of it. He actually called some NFL games back in the day, and was the guy who called the Dwight Clark catch in the end zone from Joe Montana against the Cowboys, that famous catch. It was him. So, like, he's sprinkled throughout, like, all sports. So that was pretty cool to see today. The tributes to him have been amazing. If you haven't had a chance to read Brian Cranston's email that he sent to the Dan Patrick Show, I definitely recommend you take time to look at that. And just a testament to him, he called 25 World Series and 12 All-Star games. Vince Scully, like, the guy was a legend. The guy is one of those voices of baseball. Like, you hear his voice, and it's just perfect. There's never going to be anyone like him. Naturally, he is in the Baseball Hall of Fame as well. He should be. And like I said, he's just a great person from all intents and purposes. Obviously very sad to see him go. But hey, man, I wish I can call baseball games for 65 years. Like, he definitely lived a kid's dream, and that says a lot. That says a lot. And just like Mr. Bill Russell, Mr. Vince Scully, may you rest in peace. And the world's not the same place about both of you. You guys are both icons in your sports, and thank you for everything you've done. In other news, I guess is the only way I guess I can transition from that to this. The NFL has had quite a week this week. Like they've just it's been, I mean, preseason games I believe start on Thursday. But they're definitely in the news way before that. So the longest soap opera in the history of the NFL, the Deshaun Watson scandal, sexual assault, non-violent sexual assault, whatever you want to call it, reached a partial level of conclusion with the first suspension announced because you knew it was going to get appealed either way. Honestly, this whole saga has had more twists and turns than a Spanish telenovela. It has been, for lack of a better term, quite frankly, fucking annoying. And I'm glad that I feel like we could be possibly reaching the end, but I doubt it. I doubt this is still going to keep going. So news came out early Monday morning. Deshaun Watson, he was not fined any money and was only suspended for 6 games. Which, if you know the tricky things that the Cleveland Browns did on their guaranteed $230 million contract, that was only going to cost him roughly $333,000. Because they were only paying him $1 million this year because they knew he was probably going to get suspended. So they wanted to make sure he kept his money. Like the Browns have been absolutely horrible in this whole situation. Excuse me. I don't know how the Browns can honestly sleep at night. I couldn't block it. So it's interesting because the Judge Sue Robinson, who through the collective bargaining agreement, and we'll get back to that in a second, was a third party, not Roger Goodell, who it used to be, heard the case between the league and the Players Association. The league did a good job of convincing them of the league wanted a full season with basically an indefinite suspension. You had to meet certain criteria to get back in, because of the nature of the accusations. The accusations. That's the right word I'll use. What's interesting is the NFLPA wanted nothing, and then they used Ray Rice, Ben Roethlisberger, and Ezekiel Elliott as comparables as precedent. Excuse me. Now they won on that part, which is interesting. They actually did get that, as you saw with the 6-game suspension, because that's what Ben Roethlisberger got. That's what Ezekiel Elliott got. Principally, those are ones who had a sexual violence, sexual conduct, kind of similar, something similar, or something along the lines of what Deshaun Watson has going on. What's interesting is she did find him to be predatory. If you read the actual 15-page decision, I kind of skimmed it over the top. She says what he did is wrong. It's predatory. It's something that's unlike anything seen in NFL history, even compared to Ben Roethlisberger and Ezekiel Elliott. But it is non-violent sexual conduct. I don't know why that matters, but sexual conduct is sexual conduct. I mean, thankfully he wasn't violent, of course, but it doesn't excuse the matter. Like, hey, it's all good now. It was non-violent, so hey, it's cool. Whatever. It's all good. It was non-violent. No, it's still not right. Okay. So the public outcry has obviously been huge. The reason another thing that she said was, because he was a first-time offender. And he's a first-time offender in terms of getting to this stage, I guess. But the NFL used 4 specific cases. I would say each one of those is a separate offense. He did it once to one person, then he did it again to another person. I would say those are each different offenses. And that's where I would say it's different, especially different from Roethlisberger and Ezekiel Elliott. That was just one person. And they got 6 games. And the judge said she believed what the NFL said. The NFL was credible in establishing their point here. But the other 2 only got 6 games, so he had to get 6 games as well. I completely disagree with that. I think the nature of this meant that he deserved the full season, if not longer, just because I agree with that fact that thought process of those are four separate instances at this point. He's a danger to society. Like maybe not a danger to society. Okay, that's strong. Because he was, again, not anything criminal wasn't found, right? But there's obviously something there. Like the guy looked for, I believe, like 60 massage therapists in under a year. And then he was always like trying to wear like small towels and stuff like it's some real sketchy like pervy ass shit. So I and the NFL waited a couple days, I guess, to see how bad the public outcry would be, and it was absolutely horrible. And I think that's the best thing they could have hoped for because now they have officially filed an appeal today, which is the last day they could file it, and it goes to a new judge, collectively bargained and agreed for by both the Players Association and the players and the owners. I have to stress that because the new judge is Roger Goodell. So for once, I'm hoping Goodell just says, no, I understand where she comes from, but this situation is a little bit different because of XYZ reasons, especially how many accusations there were. So no, you're suspended for the year. And I'm sure the league is going to sue and it's going to become a race to see who, you know, who wins the lawsuit from what I've heard, as far as like where it's filed. But I just think it doesn't matter. I think this is bargained for already in your CBA, and this is something. Well, yes, he wasn't found criminally charged, and that's why he can still play in the NFL. He still has consequences for it's not a given that you get to play the games. You still made the league look terrible. So you're going to have to suffer consequences. And I'm fully aboard a minimum of one season for him. Because it's ridiculous what he did. Any other person would be in jail. I'm sure they would have found a way. But it's gross, and I hope Goodell honestly does the right thing. Um, the other thing the NFL had going on, and this one kind of pains me to talk about, is the Miami Dolphins are once again a freaking embarrassment to the NFL. Stephen Ross continues to be an embarrassment for this league. I can't wait till the day he sells the team. I really hope it's soon, and I hope it happens like tomorrow because he's a fucking shit stain. And I hate to be that strong about it, but that's what he is. Everything he's touched with the Dolphins has been crap. Absolute garbage. Like the team recently lost the first round pick next season, the third round pick the year after. Ross is suspended from any team event until about mid-October, as well as being fined $1.5 million, which by the way, $1.5 million to a guy like Ross is like the 25 cents on my desk right now. It's not a lot of money. Because they tampered. Now, this is something that Brian Flores alleged, the infamous meeting on a yacht with a certain quarterback. And it was true because both in the 2019 season and the 2021 season, throughout the year, the Dolphins were contacting Tom Brady to try and get him to be quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. And apparently, if it wasn't for Brian Flores filing that lawsuit, it might have actually happened with none other than Sean Payton as the head coach, because they had talked to him all the year last year as well, and their agents, respectively. Which, of course, once the Dolphins were kind of found out, they decided to try and ask the Saints for permission. And the Saints were like, nah, because, you have to ask for permission to speak to someone under contract. And naturally, they were caught for that. And it could only be the Dolphins that get caught for tampering and don't actually get the person that they're trying to tamper with. Like everywhere I've seen before, like the tampering charges or tampering things, like at least the person got the player. You know what I'm saying? Like the Heat, last year with Kyle Lowry, they got to keep Kyle Lowry. PJ Tucker this year with Philly in the NBA. Like I know it's not the NFL, but they at least got the player, and they're gonna get to keep him. They didn't even get the goddamn player. They didn't even get Tom Brady. They didn't even get Sean Payton. And this just continues to prove more and more of the things that Flores said was real in that lawsuit. So I'm really hoping it continues forward. There was also a whole big section where Ross and his cronies, because that's what they are as far as I'm concerned at this point, the cronies were joking, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here for those who are just listening and not watching, joking about, hey, if we lose more games, we'll have a better draft position and we can get Joe Burrow and blah, 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 blah. And they made it sound like, if you lose, I'll give you $100,000. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. That old line you used when you were a kid and you wanted to ask a question, but you weren't sure if the person was going to take you seriously. You were kind of afraid, like you wanted to ask someone out. Hey, I want to see what you're doing this weekend. Oh, just to know if you're, we're gonna go hang out with this person. Like, just kidding. Like, just wondering. One of those things, right? That's kind of what they did. So how there's always some truth there. So I fully believe the Dolphins attempted to tank that year and they failed because they're the Dolphins. And that's what they do. But it is an embarrassment that this guy continues to own this team. I don't care that he's suspended. Like, he doesn't care that he's suspended. He lives in freaking New York. He's not even in Miami. Like, he's not even around the team. Like, I can't stand this guy. Like, I know I wasn't a huge fan of Huizenga, but at least Huizenga was always around the team and he was always, involved and he loved the team. Like, say what you want about Huizenga, he loved the Dolphins. He loved all those teams that he owned. Okay? This guy, it's a business, and you can see it's a business, and he just doesn't care about anything that the Dolphins stood for or their history or anything. Like, he's just, and God bless him, he's trying to win, right? Like, I mean, you're trying so hard to win, you cheat, right? But you just suck at it because you can't cheat right. So it is not a good situation right now with the Dolphins, which is sad because I actually have very high hopes for them coming into this season. Speaking of coming into the season with preseason games starting, I am going to be doing a fantasy football league. We do have 5 spots open as it is right now. There will be a prize to be awarded, a championship belt. It's going to be a kid size because we're on a budget here, so you won't be able to actually wear it, but you'll be able to carry it around. It'll be a cool souvenir that the winner will get. So if you're interested in joining, please contact me through any of the social medias you'll see at the end of the pod. We'll be starting the league soon and setting up a draft once the league is full. We're looking for 10 people, so we need 5 spots to be filled. So if you want to join, please feel free to reach me at the socials that will come, as always, at the end of the episode. And our last segment of the day, and I would be remiss if I don't talk about it. Little recap of how the weekend in Charlotte went. It was fun. Downpour and all. I can't. First of all, I'd like to start with apologizing to our host because as you can, folks who've been following YouTube, my hair is extra teal today because I did get it recolored recently. Got it recolored right before we left. So a lot of the dye ended up on the pillowcase. I'm not proud of it. It bled out quite a bit, so sorry about that, guys. But hey, your bed is so comfortable. It could have been because there wasn't a 5-year-old in it, but it was nice. I enjoyed your bed quite greatly. I was in your guest room there, so I appreciate that, guys. But Friday night was fun. Played a game both Esposa and me had never heard of, called Secret Hitler. A ton of fun. Basically, one team's fascist, one team's liberal, and it's trying to, it's like asking questions. No one knows who anyone is, so it becomes like a real big, like, who can lie to who. I had a lot of fun. La Esposa had a lot of fun. We won the last game, which was really kind of a lot of fun. It was the only time La Esposa and me were actually like on the same team in the way it worked. And we had that whole exchange that we kind of fooled everybody except the other person who was with us. And we completely, and then right after we won the game, it was just one of the greatest, it was one of the better victories of the night. Definitely felt good to get that one. So Saturday we were supposed to go golfing, as I said, and that was going to suck pretty big. But I guess thankfully, even though I really did want to go, if I'm being completely honest here, I really did want to go. I was looking forward to playing golf, and if it was bad, just because I mean, why not? I like to get out there. I like to do stuff that's remotely athletic, so why not play some golf? I'm actually buying my own set of men's clubs because I do have a set of clubs that are women's that I've had since like 7th grade. But I am buying some men's club and start trying to play a little bit more often here so I can kind of be somewhat decent and respectable and not be total ass. But we knew it was gonna be a super hot day. So instead of going golfing and losing probably like 20 pounds in sweat, we went to a place called Whitewater. So it's like this action adventure park, I guess is the only way I could describe it. You can do some whitewater rafting and like courses. It almost looks like the Olympic stuff. There's zip lining, there's rock climbing, like there's like a rock climber, you jump off and you go into a big pool. Um, no, it and a great lunch. Went there for lunch and we checked it out. We did some walks. There's a lot of trail walks, a lot of like biking that you can rent bikes, like do a lot of stuff there. It's really, really cool thing in Charlotte. I mean, so cool that Esposa and I are actually trying to find a way to go back to Charlotte so we can go to Whitewater. It was that cool. Really, really badass. If you have a chance to check it out, definitely recommend it. Just amazing, amazing, amazing. Then that afternoon, we were supposed to go to the soccer game, but then that's when the real shit show started because we saw that there was a chance for rain and the game might get delayed. And we knew that kind of going in. We were already a little kind of sketched out about that, but we still went downtown and started drinking and having a good time. And we decided to go to first the Puttery, which was fantastic. It's I believe it's owned by Rory McIlroy, designed by him, and they have great bar. And then we like, hey, can we go now or should we? So we started heading towards the stadium. All of a sudden, lightning strikes and they're putting on delay. So the delay lasts and lasts and lasts. And I mean, long story short, we got rained out. Like we never made it to the game. Like we got into the game. The moment we walked in, another lightning delay happened. Then they called the game close to midnight. The game was supposed to start at 7. They played 15 minutes of it. Yeah, that sucks. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. That really, really sucks. I mean, we had a lot of beer, so we had that going for us. But it sucks because the MLS doesn't give refunds per se because now the game is rescheduled for Wednesday, October 5th. No offense to the MLS. I have no intention of going back to Charlotte for a Wednesday night regular season MLS game. No intention whatsoever. Like, yeah, there's no way I'm going back for a Wednesday night MLS game. Like I flew in for the game, so there has to be something you guys should be able to do for me and my friends here because, yeah, we're not flying back in for that. Like, for all we know, Charlotte could be out of the playoff picture, and that's like a dead game. It doesn't matter for anything. Or Columbus could be out of it. Like we don't know. We don't know where it's going to be at that point. But the point is, it's the last week of the season. I mean, I don't have time for that. I got to cruise like a week after that, hopefully. So that's not feasible. But we still have fun. Like I said, we drank a lot of beer, and that was always a good thing. Um, Sunday we went to one of the I have to be one of the coolest restaurants I've ever been to in my life. It was called Webb Custom Kitchen. It actually was the Webb Theater of the 1920s in Gastonia. It was really, really cool because it was an old movie theater. It still had the screen up, still had a lot of the original architecture from the building. And they've just basically converted it into a restaurant after it's gone through like it was a teen dance hall. And just the history of the building was so cool. The food was fantastic. Fantastic. Shout out to the waitress. I believe her name was Jennifer. She like went through all the history, and I have to say, I admit, like it was impressive. It was impressive how she knew like just like all the little features of the building and just how everything went. And it was badass. Brunch was great. Their dinner menu looked fantastic. I just obviously we were there for brunch, so that's what we had before we flew out, and it was amazing, amazing. So again, definitely recommend Whitewater. Definitely recommend Webb Custom Kitchen. I do recommend a reservation. We got lucky that we got in, but all in all, we had a great time. Thank you again to our friends who let us stay at their place. Couldn't have asked for a better weekend in Charlotte. Now, I did tease a little bit more of the jersey back there behind me. Esposa and me on Friday are going to the Tampa Bay Lightning Brew Fest. So we're going to go get our beer on. We're naturally going as VIPs because we found a great deal. It's at Emily Arena, so it's in the arena. I'll be wearing that bad boy to the beer fest. I know I said I don't wear it in the summer, but at least it's indoor and I can roll the sleeves up so I can make it work. We're VIP. We're getting in 2 hours before everybody else, so we should be able to have a good time. One of our friends, our friend who lives here from that we saw last weekend, she's coming with us, so we're looking forward to it. Lots of local breweries. If you know the Tampa area, there is a lot around here. $3 Cigar City, just to name a few. So definitely looking forward to that this weekend. So I'll definitely give you a report on that and how that went. If that turned into a beer shit show, which it has a lot of potential, let me tell you. For the simple fact that we're taking Ubers, and once we start on that path, like it's usually a good night. Usually a good night for La Esposa and me. So we're looking forward to that. And on that note, folks, I've spoken quite a bit today, so we're gonna wrap it up for this week's episode of Alex's Disorganized Pod. If I know the name of my pod, it'd be better, wouldn't it? Alex's Disorganized Spots. We're gonna wrap it up for this week. It's been fun. Obviously, I've talked too much. I'm starting to get myself tangled up. So let's not forget to subscribe, download, rate, and review. And as always, if you want to follow me on YouTube or Instagram, look for Alex's Disorganized Thoughts. If you're looking on Twitter or Facebook, search at Alex Dis Thoughts. Or if you feel the need to email me, feel free at Gmail, alexdisorganizedthoughts@gmail.com. Once again, thank you all for watching, listening, however you're consuming the pod. I truly appreciate it. You folks have a good one. See you all next week.